So I had to get on and spill my guts out. I had to like confess. I had to get it off my chest. As a dog, unable to talk to anybody but the man, and I'm finally having a better relationship with the man. But I actually had an encounter with the rabbit. The rabbit came back, and he enhanced my apparatus so I could. The thing is, we're going to get into this on the next chapter, but this is a foreshadowing. But the rabbit came back. Oh my God. And I was so happy, I was so ecstatic. And yet on the other side of the coin, life is a sword. On the one side of the saber, you have this. On the other side, you have the opposite almost. So I was so happy because the rabbit came back, but then I was so sad because I just learned that Gilbert Godfrey had died. And because I'm only 14 years old, 15 years old. I'm 15, but I just turned 15. But, that's dog years. So I'm kind of an old, I got ancient. At 15, you're like 100 and something. But it's the reverse. I can only go back to in my childhood for vivid memories, but my dog remembrance, in my dog years remembrance, it goes beyond when I was even born, and I have memories. And I remember Gilbert Godfrey from the old days. And I was always kind of not that big of a Gilbert Godfrey man. I wasn't too big on Gilbert Godfrey. And I read, I can't read, so I misspoke. I don't read. I wish I could read. And that's the next thing I'm going to learn how to do is read. But everything I do is verbally. In the hearing, I hear it, I could internalize it, or I could verbally say something out loud to But the main thing is that I heard and saw reports, and then I could look at the pictures, even if it was on you would get on Yahoo News, and I couldn't really read it, but I could look at the pictures that Gilbert Godfrey had passed away, and he had some kind of a muscle wasting disease. And I know how that can be because I have a little tiny thorn. They had a big thorn in my paw, my right paw, and they pulled it out. The man pulled it out and he used a toenail clipper and he clipped it and it left a little bit in there, and it's like so sore. It's like always pussing. It's always like a festering. So I know how it is. I know how it must have been for Gilbert. But I remember Gilbert, and I never was a big fan because I was like, Gilbert, you're like too childish, too immature for me. In my dog remembrance, before I was even born, when I accessed my dog remembrance years, I can think back to when Gilbert was doing USA Today, and there would be that little Rhonda. And I remember the man one time talking about the Rhonda lady and how he used to try to sneak in a little, a little wank time there. He would be watching, USA Up All Night just for the glimpses of the Rhonda lady that was Gilbert Godfrey's, his sidekick or, But, I remember that, I thought USA kind of sucked. I didn't even watch USA too much. And when I hear all these people talking about how much they loved USA Up All Night and Gilbert Godfrey, I think, you know what? I think that's a false flag memory. I mean, that wasn't really that good. It was like the lowbrow. And maybe if you love it so much, it's because you're not that smart. I'm just a dog. I'm just a stupid dog. But when I watch Gilbert Godfrey on USA Up All Night, it doesn't bring back, in my dog remembrance, in my pre-existence where only my dog remembrance from my dog years comes into play. USA, if I remember right, USA was not that good. And Gilbert Godfrey was not that great. It wasn't that great. And then, so I was never big into Gilbert Godfrey. I'm sorry. It's like, it's too sophomoric. Even for a dumb, idiotic dog, it's too sophomoric. But whatever, it's good. I loved Gilbert. In a sense, I loved Gilbert. But I remember when Gilbert was at some kind of a roast. It was like for Bob Saget. God bless poor Bob. I also saw, I saw in the news where Bob fell backwards and mysteriously, without any evidence, just supposition, just trying to piece it together, they know that Bob fell backwards on perhaps a carpeted floor and smashed his head. And when he got up, he went around for a couple of days, and then he died in his bed with his hands crossed across his chest. That was like, where are you now? The guy from, Robert Trent Jones, or whatever his name is, from, the conspiracy theorist, the guy who makes so many theories of conspiracies. I forget what his name is, and it's like InfoWars. He's like a wackadoo. Where are you now when we need you? Like Bob Saget. How did Bob Saget die? You know, I mean, he died in his own bed after going to work, and he died from a head injury that no one could see, not even a bump. You know, I think they bumped Bob off. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm having a conspiracy theory on Bob Saget. But whatever. You know, I remember when Gilbert Godfrey, in my dog remembrance, the years before I was even born, where I have my dog year remembrance from, pre-existence. Because you measure it in dog years, so you can go back even before your birth in dog years if you have a dog remembrance, and that's the good thing about dogs. They die but they have a big span of, awareness before they were born, even, almost after. But Bob Saget roast and Gilbert, he came out and he did a 9/11 joke, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that's too early for the 9/11." And it wasn't even that. It was a pretty good joke. I can't remember the joke. I do not remember it, and I can't remember. But then it was really weird because as a dog, I remember distinctly as a 9/11 joke, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of good." And I was like, "Too early," because everybody else said too early. I was like, "Oh my God, that's kind of funny," That's kind of. But everybody's like, it's not even a year. It's a matter of months. You're making the 9/11 joke, and everybody was like, "No, that doesn't pass. That doesn't pass muster." And so he immediately launched into a joke. And I found this very appealing about him and his dad and his mother and his sister. They all were eating their own droppings, and they were getting in trouble with the neighbors because the neighbors were like, "Oh my God, look at these nut jobs out here." So Gilbert was saying that him and his mom and his dad and his sister, they went out in the yard, they took a crap, and I don't know if they were eating that times crap. Like the mom would eat the dad's crap, and the sister would eat the brother's crap, and the brother was eating, Gilbert's crap. But it was like, I think they found old craps because they did this routinely. They went out into, and it became like an act for them. It was like a thing that they did in public to try to make money. So the father, he would walk out on stage and he would take a big dump on a piece of rice paper, and then the mother would take a dump on a piece of rice paper, and they would each eat each other's own fecal matter. But of course, it was old craps. It wasn't the new craps. The new craps would be sitting there steamy hot, but they would put a little turd from before, because it's not too good to eat a mushy, warm turd. You want to eat an old, chewy turd. It's a little better. As a dog, I know you want to eat the old, aged. I got 2, 3, 4, 5, a rain, a sun drenching, and the poop becomes really, really much better. You have to season with the outside elements to poop, so it's really delicious. So Gilbert's mom and dad, they would hide a little poop. They would take a big poop. They would eat a lot of bananas, a lot of hot chocolate and pizza, so they could know they could poop at the stage on the rice paper, and they would poop big blobs of poop out, but behind the poop, they would have a little turd, like a brown, dark turd that had been aged. So it was better. But they ate the poop because they were like, it has to be authentic. And then Gilbert's sister and his brother would come out on stage, Gilbert said, and they would each do the same thing. They would take big steamy turds, big craps right there, and everybody would be applauding. And then the sister and the brother, they would switch places and they would eat the turds. And sometimes the brother and the sister, they didn't have the old turds because they were children, they were adolescents. They didn't have a lot of whatever you call discipline, so they wouldn't find the old turds. The mom would be like, "Hey, did you take your turd? Because in 3 days we're going to be doing the thing up there on the stage, the vaudeville act, where we eat each other's own fecal matter, You better have a nice, chewy, delicious turd that's been aged a few days, or you're going to have to eat a steamy, hot turd." And sometimes the sister and the brother, they would have to eat the steamy, hot turds of each other. It was disgusting. But whatever, because you want to have a nice aged turd. The sun and the rain, it has the weather, and, it shrinks the turd, and it makes it more delicious that way. It's aged. Just like whiskey has to be aged in a barrel, the turds have to be aged by the elements. But, the funny thing that Gilbert said during this, little routine he broke into after the 9/11 joke, they said, "Well, what's the name of the act that where the mom and the dad and the sister and the brother?" And Gilbert didn't include himself in the turd eating, but I think that's because they didn't even love him enough. Gilbert didn't even have enough love from his mom and dad to be included in the turd eating thing. But I remember Gilbert saying, so they asked us, "How do you bill? What do we put up there on the marquee?" And he said, "The aristocrats." The joke is that we're the aristocrats. Even though we're eating each other's fecal matter, we're the aristocrats. It's a joke. And that's how he got out of the 9/11 thing. And I thought it was pretty good. I said, from as a dog perspective, I thought the Gilbert Godfrey joke that he told to get out of the 9/11 joke during the Bob Saget, God bless Bob Saget, during the Bob Saget roast. I thought it was brilliant. And that's the only time I ever respected Gilbert. And it made him famous. That was the only time I ever thought Gilbert had it, you know what I'm saying? But whatever, it's okay. You know, God bless. Say a prayer. Remember, in your prayers tonight, remember, you know, God rest his soul, Gilbert Godfrey. He had a good career. For 67 years, he made a mark for just 67 years. I mean, I hope I can make a mark. It's like Gilbert had like half dog years. He only made it to 67. He was like living half, you know, he was living slightly. He was like living 50% in dog years because he got extinguished. But whatever, it's okay. Gilbert's okay. Gilbert's going to be fine. You know, whatever.